Did you know that Satan was also a creation of God? Satan was originally Lucifer, the most radiant angel before God's throne, who fell from grace and transformed into the devil due to his supreme arrogance and desire to replace the divine. What if I told you that aspirin, the century-old wonder drug that remains undefeated today, and heroin, the 100-year king of toxins that has never been fully replaced, were engineered by the exact same hands within the same month? Would you believe it? In the summer of 1897, inside a chemical-scented laboratory at the German Bayer Company, Felix Hoffmann, a reclusive young chemist wearing round spectacles, was violently knocking on Pandora's box. Armed with the most cutting-edge chemical tool of his era, acetic anhydride, he attempted to modify the synthetic coats of physiologically active molecules. Born into a traditional German manufacturing family, Hoffmann had graduated from the University of Munich with highest honors, earning a doctoral degree in chemistry and pharmacy. His endless labor inside Bayer's laboratory was driven by a single, holy motivation: to rescue his father, who was bedridden by the excruciating torment of severe arthritis and left vomiting in agonizing gastric distress from existing remedies. The medical establishment already knew that salicylic acid provided excellent pain relief, but its intense acidity ruthlessly destroyed the patient's stomach lining. Thus, Hoffmann wrapped salicylic acid in an acetyl coat, successfully synthesizing aspirin, a compound later praised as the wonder drug of the century, curing 100 years of human headaches, rheumatism, and systemic inflammation. Yet, barely 11 days after synthesizing aspirin, driven by the rigid pressure of the corporate hierarchy and his superiors, Hoffmann picked up the identical acetic anhydride processing technique, applying diacetylation to crude morphine. Once the morphine molecule's coat was altered, it instantly transformed into a super passport through the brain's dense defense walls, triggering absolute pain relief and a devastating wave of euphoria. This substance was officially trademarked by Bayer as heroin. Within the exact same month, his left hand crafted the world's most successful legal savior, while 11 days later, his right hand birthed the most terrifying underground king of toxins. This is not a fictional script. It is a real-world paradox bound to Hoffmann's destiny. Even more horrifying, across the next 2 centuries, these twin compounds would be savagely exploited by cold-blooded, predatory institutional accountants, colliding violently into the bloodiest military slaughterhouses in human history.
On August 10, 1897, Hoffmann successfully synthesized aspirin, providing relief without destroying the stomach lining. This compound possessed gold standard efficacy in reducing fever, relieving pain, fighting inflammation, and inhibiting platelet aggregation. Yet, to Hoffmann's laboratory chief, Heinrich Dresser, this research report was initially ignored and pushed aside. Dresser was not acting blindly. He was a chillingly clinical institutional accountant. He had negotiated a specialized contract, securing a direct percentage of private profit shares from every drug he authorized for launch. In Dresser's calculations, a routine painkiller like aspirin promised slow market adoption. The true commercial jackpot, capable of generating astronomical profits, lay in an entirely different race, discovering a non-addictive substitute for morphine. this pursuit carried a deeply blood-soaked historical genesis. Throughout the 19th century, raw opium and morphine injections had already thoroughly saturated society through the mechanism of warfare. In the American Civil War, battlefield surgeons addressing horrific amputations and ballistic trauma distributed millions of opium supplies, legally transforming hundreds of thousands of veterans into severe addicts, an epidemic known historically as the Army disease. Simultaneously, across European battlefields and civilian clinics, respiratory failures from tuberculosis and pneumonia were harvesting millions of lives. While morphine could dull the pain, it suppressed respiration and left soldiers lethargic and useless in combat. Global medicine was trapped in a collective panic and despair over morphine dependency. Thus, the moment Hoffmann applied the identical acetylation method on crude morphine, synthesizing heroin, Dresser instantly recognized that this compound met a desperate, highly lucrative global vacuum. Wrapped in its acetyl shield, heroin penetrated the brain 3 times faster than regular morphine, delivering cross-generational potency in cough suppression and sedation. In 1898, completely bypassing comprehensive clinical trials, Bayer rushed heroin onto the international market. The pharmaceutical giant flooded society with a shameless corporate lie, advertising heroin as an absolutely non-addictive miracle savior. It was aggressively packaged as a universal panacea, even formulated into over-the-counter child's cough syrup. Not only did morphine-addicted veterans scramble to purchase it, but ordinary parents seeking routine domestic relief were legally transformed into loyal clients. Inside executive suites, Dresser feasted on cascades of incoming orders, as heroin generated 5% of Bayer's total net profits. Meanwhile, the true wonder drug, aspirin, designed out of pure filial love, was temporarily castrated and left in the shadows as capital chased the hyper-profits of the narcotic race. Institutional greed was rapidly magnified to apocalyptic proportions under the smoke of the First and Second World Wars. Hoffmann's twin discoveries became intertwined in a bloody, surreal paradox, emerging as vital strategic lifelines for the military machines of nations across both global conflicts. In 1914, World War I exploded. The baseline of the trenches was defined by endless mud, freezing temperatures, and rampant influenza. In this hellscape, aspirin became the divine defense of the front line. It instantly suppressed fevers and inflammation, forcing broken, shivering soldiers back onto their feet to hold their rifles within 30 minutes. Yet the reverse side of the coin was heroin's demonic manifestation inside the trenches. The lethal respiratory fits triggered by chemical gas attacks, paired with the psychological shell shock of ceaseless artillery bombardments, pushed soldiers to collective mental collapse. While morphine offered pain relief, it left infantrymen lethargic and useless in combat. Heroin, being multiple times more potent, offered a terrifying advantage. It completely arrested gas-induced respiratory fits while triggering an extreme neurochemical euphoria known in German as heroisch, making the soldier feel like an invincible titan. To strip away the primal fear of death and force men to charge blindly into machine gun fire to shield the state, battlefield surgeons distributed heroin by the million as an elite stimulant. By World War II, This geopolitical pharmaceutical madness evolved into its absolute zenith. Bayer was forcefully integrated into the notorious conglomerate IG Farben. IG Farben became the supreme financial and material engine of the Nazi war machine, establishing slave labor camps directly outside Auschwitz and injecting chemical compounds into emaciated prisoners for brutal human medical experiments. On the battlefields of World War II, to sustain the hyper-alert myth of the Blitzkrieg, military doctors distributed mass volumes of aspirin alongside Pervitin, methamphetamine developed by institutions sharing the same fanatical chemical obsession, even as civilian heroin faced heavier regulation. Fueled by this double chemical assault, soldiers fought for 3 days and nights without sleep, photocopying a trail of slaughter across Europe. The molecular manipulation Hoffmann unlocked with a simple bottle of acetic anhydride had officially become the bloodiest fuel for the global military machine. The global conflicts eventually ceased, but the structural devastation engineered by heroin mutated into a far deeper ulcer inside modern society, orchestrated by cross-century corporate overlords and geopolitical transformations. Following both world wars, heroin left behind a catastrophic legacy of addicted veterans. On the pavements of New York and Philadelphia, these broken heroes, their willpower demolished by severe chemical dependency, crawled through ruins to collect and sell scrap metal to finance their addiction. These walking dead were branded by history with a shameful term still used today: junkies. Although global governments passed legislation banning heroin between the 1920s and 1930s, the astronomical consumer black hole carved out by legal tycoons could not vanish with a bureaucratic signature. From the late 1960s to the mid-1970s, history took a more maniacal turn. Due to the Vietnam War, American soldiers deployed in Southeast Asia gained direct, unchecked access to high-purity, incredibly cheap heroin from the Golden Triangle. When the military withdrew, veterans carried this catastrophic addiction back to the American homeland, unleashing an unprecedented wave of systemic social crime and domestic chaos. This crisis forced U.S. President Richard Nixon to officially declare the war on drugs, enforcing ironclad legislative policies. Initially, the institution attempted to strike smuggling networks while establishing rehabilitation infrastructure to assist users. However, as political tides shifted, bureaucratic factions transformed the policy into a weapon of mass incarceration and brutal punishment, causing the national prison population to skyrocket vertically over the following decades. This multi-billion-dollar war has burned through astronomical budgets, yet the underground demand remains immortal, and the narcotic crisis endures. By the 1980s, Britain and Western Europe were similarly hit by synthetic smuggling routes from the Middle East, combined with severe mass unemployment, causing heroin to saturate European mainstream society. It was only after the turn of the millennium, as aggressive interdiction drove retail prices to astronomical heights and the ritual of consumption remained cumbersome, that this first-generation king of toxins was undercut by cheaper, more efficient synthetic alternatives, slowly receding into a sunset narcotic on the black market. Felix Hoffmann, the tragic scientist who synthesized both the ultimate savior and the definitive demon within the exact same month, chose to retire into absolute obscurity in 1928. He never received any significant royalty share or financial fortune from the astronomical wealth generated by his discoveries. He remained entirely alone, a lifelong celibate, without a wife or children. In 1946, as the smoke of World War II finally cleared, Hoffmann closed his eyes forever in a cold corner of Switzerland, carrying a heavy and deeply complicated legacy into the shadows of history. His initial scientific quest was born from pure, holy devotion to engineer a buffered medicine that could rescue his own arthritic father from daily agony. Mapping virtual modifications inside his mind, he believed he had gifted humanity true liberation from the raw trauma of physical disease. He could never have anticipated that when his creation collided with the predatory greed of his director Dracer, the cold military machinery of 2 world wars, and the chilling metrics of modern corporate empires, his breakthrough would be weaponized into a cross-century scythe harvesting millions of lives. If an all-knowing God truly presides over the cosmos, standing at the crossroads of existence, how should he orchestrate this genius's next reincarnation? Should he let him return as a ruthless prison warden to execute absolute vengeance upon the true cross-century architects of this plague? The director, Dracer, who suppressed safety for private profit shares, and the Nazi executives conducting chemical trials on concentration camp prisoners, forcing these monsters to pay their blood debts with their own lives inside a frozen cage. Or should he let him return as an even greater master of medicine, a supreme healer designed to engineer a permanent cure for addiction and rescue the millions of souls shattered by heroin over the last century? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. This is WTF Past Lives. We unearth these devastating historical chapters to expose the underlying roots of modern systemic oppression, societal rot, and institutional betrayal. This is not an elegy for suffering, but a clinical mirror to your present life, proving that the social cataclysms, the systemic gridlocks, and the difficulties you face today are not as insurmountable as they seem in the face of a God bleeding inside the dark machinery of global history. You can utilize these historical echoes of genius crushed under cross-century corruption to contemplate, if given another chance at existence, how will you break free from this karmic cycle, protect your core convictions, and make your life truly beautiful. See you in the next past life. Bye-bye.
Hey, still here? Enjoying the despair of your past life, aren't you? Did that past life make you shout WTF inside? If yes, welcome back. You've regained your memory. Trust me, you are so much happier now. Since you survived, support this down-and-out angel. Like and subscribe to keep the updates flowing. It won't send you to heaven, but it lets me stay here with you in hell. See ya.